My name is Emily Parker. I'm 41 years old, and for most of my life, I never believed that I would be telling a story like this. Not to anyone, let alone to the world. I was born and raised in Austin, Texas, a nurse for almost 20 years, always skeptical about the supernatural, the afterlife, and anything that couldn't be measured or proven. But nothing could have prepared me for the night everything changed. If you're listening to this, I want you to know, what I'm about to share is not just a story. It's a warning, a call, and an invitation. If this message touches you in any way, please leave a comment, share your thoughts, and most importantly, share this video so others can hear what I experienced. Let me take you back to the beginning, to the night when I crossed the threshold between life and eternity, and heard a sound so powerful, it shattered everything I thought I knew about this world. It was a Tuesday in early November, a day like any other, or so it seemed. The Texas sky was streaked with golden light as I finished a long shift at St. David's Medical Center. I remember glancing at my watch, 6:38 p.m. I could still hear the distant chatter of nurses in the hallway, the soft hum of machines, the faint scent of antiseptic clinging to my scrubs. I had always believed in routine, in the safety of schedules. My life had been a series of checklists, caring for my patients, comforting families, making sure every detail was in place. Maybe that's why what happened that evening felt so surreal, like the universe decided to remind me that control is only an illusion. I was sitting in the hospital break room, sipping cold coffee, when I felt it. At first, it was just a pressure, a strange tightness in my chest. I brushed it off as stress. After all, the ER had been relentless for weeks, and I'd barely slept. But the pressure grew, turning sharp and unforgiving. My hand trembled. I tried to stand, but the world blurred at the edges, the fluorescent lights flickering overhead. Suddenly, the pain exploded, a crushing, unrelenting force. I gasped, clutching my chest. I heard someone shout my name. Footsteps rushed toward me. Voices became distant, muffled by the ringing in my ears. I remember collapsing, the cold tiles pressing against my cheek, and then nothing. They told me later I'd suffered a massive heart attack. My heart stopped for almost 6 minutes. 6 minutes. In that time, the world I'd built, my job, my doubts, my fears, was stripped away. But in those 6 minutes, something else happened, something no monitor could measure. A moment that began with darkness and ended with a sound that would haunt me forever. You see, what happened next wasn't just a medical emergency. It was the doorway to something far greater, more terrifying, and more beautiful than anything I'd ever imagined. And I need to know, have you ever felt your life change in a single moment? Have you ever faced the unthinkable? If you have, or if this is stirring something inside you, tell me in the comments. Your story matters. You are not alone. The crossing to the other side. When people talk about dying, they imagine a flicker, a fading, maybe a long tunnel of light. But for me, it began with silence. So profound it was almost deafening. There was no pain, no panic, only a sense of being unmoored, as if the ropes that tied me to the world had quietly snapped. At first, I didn't realize what had happened. I remember the hospital lights dimming, the voices of my colleagues growing distant, like echoes bouncing off water. Then everything slipped away. It was as if I'd fallen into a vast, weightless ocean. For a moment, I floated in that darkness, suspended between nowhere and everywhere. Then, I noticed something extraordinary. A gentle warmth, softer than sunlight, began to spread through me. The darkness wasn't cold or frightening. It was calm, almost inviting. I felt lighter than air, unburdened by pain or fear. It was as though every worry, every regret I'd carried my whole life was washed away in that instant. And then, I saw myself. Below me was the hospital break room, a flurry of activity as doctors and nurses worked frantically over my body. I hovered near the ceiling, watching as they pressed on my chest, shouting instructions, moving with that blend of urgency and precision I knew so well. I should have been afraid, but instead, I felt an overwhelming sense of peace. I knew, without any doubt, that whatever happened next, I was not alone. Colors became sharper, more vivid. I could see every detail. The sweat glistening on a nurse's forehead, the trembling hand of a young intern. Time seemed to slow, stretching into something vast and mysterious. I could hear things I'd never heard before. The muffled sob of a colleague in the hallway, the hopeful prayer of someone down the corridor. It was as if every moment in that room mattered, every heartbeat echoing out into eternity. And then, as if guided by an invisible current, I drifted further away, leaving the hospital behind. The world below faded into a tapestry of memory, while above me, a new realm began to reveal itself. It was a place both familiar and utterly foreign, a landscape of shimmering light and endless possibility. There were no walls, no boundaries, only an infinite expanse that called to something deep within me. I sensed the presence of others, beings of light, moving with purpose and grace. I felt their love, their warmth, their welcome. It was a love so pure, so unconditional, that it filled the emptiness inside me I never knew was there. Every wound, every loss, every fear was soothed by that embrace. For the first time in my life, I felt truly seen, not as a nurse or a daughter or a woman who'd made mistakes, but as a soul, precious and beloved. And as I surrendered to that peace, I realized that the journey was just beginning. Have you ever felt a presence you couldn't explain? A peace you couldn't put into words? If you have, please share your story in the comments below. Let's remind each other that there's more to this life than meets the eye. The sound of the trumpet. There are some moments in life that define you forever, but there are other moments, rare, holy moments, when reality itself seems to split open, revealing a truth so vast and powerful, it changes the course of your soul. That was what happened to me as I drifted further from the hospital, further from my old life, and deeper into this radiant, mysterious realm. I had no sense of time. There was no sun, no moon, just a boundless golden glow that felt alive, almost intelligent, pulsing with a warmth that soothed every ache in my being. But then, that silence, the silence that had cradled me, began to tremble. At first, it was subtle, like the distant rumble of thunder rolling over the horizon. The very air seemed to vibrate. Something was coming. Suddenly, a sound broke through the stillness, a single, clear note that hung in the air like crystal. It was a trumpet. But not any trumpet you could imagine. The sound was enormous, ancient, filled with power and purpose. It reverberated through every particle of my being, echoing across the horizon, weaving through the very fabric of this otherworldly place. It was at once terrifying and magnificent. The note seemed to contain every emotion I'd ever felt: joy, grief, awe, hope, sorrow, love, woven together into a symphony that shook me to my core. As the sound grew louder, it became impossible to ignore. It was not just in my ears, but inside my bones, my thoughts, my spirit. I could feel it calling out, not just to me, but to countless others, summoning, awakening, demanding a response. I saw the land itself react. Rivers of light surged through the fields. Mountains shimmered. The sky split open with cascading colors I can hardly describe. The beings of light around me paused, turning their faces upward, their expressions a mix of reverence and gravity. Some knelt. Some lifted their arms in praise. Some wept. The trumpet's call was both a song and a summons, a declaration that something cosmic, irreversible, was happening. In that moment, I understood with a clarity beyond words. This was the final trumpet, a call that no one could sleep through, ignore, or explain away. It was the sound of destiny, of judgment, of the dividing line between what was and what must be. I saw multitudes gathering, drawn from every corner of the earth, every culture, every age. Some looked radiant, their faces shining with a gentle, welcoming light. Others were shrouded in shadow, their eyes haunted, searching for something they could no longer find. The trumpet sounded again, more urgent this time, and with it came a flood of memory. Not just my memories, but echoes of 1,000 lives, 1,000,000 hopes and regrets, all drawn together into this single moment of decision. I felt myself trembling, not in fear, but in awe. Everything was being revealed. Nothing could be hidden. The truth was shining brighter than the sun, stripping away every mask, every illusion. If you've ever felt the universe trying to get your attention, if you've ever heard a call deep in your soul, a moment that demanded you choose who you truly are, I want to hear from you. Write about it in the comments. Your story could inspire someone who's still searching for their own awakening. The separation of the multitudes. The trumpet's echoes faded, but its power lingered, woven into the very landscape of that otherworldly realm. I watched in breathless wonder as the horizon rippled and the world before me seemed to shift. Suddenly, the air itself grew tense, vibrating with anticipation, like a theater holding its breath before the curtains rise. I saw a great plain stretching out as far as the eye could see, filled with countless souls. They came from every imaginable background, the young and the old, the mighty and the humble, faces from every nation under the sun. Some stood alone, others held hands, Some trembled, some wept. There was no more hiding, no more roles to play. Each stood just as they were, stripped bare before a cosmic truth that was both loving and unyielding. At the edge of the plain, a river of light shimmered, pulsing with the same golden warmth that had surrounded me since I'd arrived. On the far side, an expanse of gentle radiance awaited, soft and inviting, filled with laughter, peace, and a sense of profound homecoming. But to my left, beyond the reach of the light, shadows gathered, a twilight zone, heavy with longing and sorrow. Here, the air felt colder, more brittle, as if hope itself struggled to breathe. Then, the movement began. An invisible force, wise and compassionate, started to draw people into two distinct groups. It wasn't cruel. There was no sense of accusation or shame. Instead, it was as if the very essence of each soul responded naturally, irresistibly, to the presence of the light, or recoiled, unable to step forward, still clutching shadows that weighed them down. Those who moved toward the light seemed to glow from within, their burdens lifted. They embraced loved ones, smiled through tears, and stepped into that field of radiance as if coming home after a long, hard journey. The atmosphere was charged with forgiveness, joy, and unimaginable relief. I saw mothers reunited with children, old wounds washed away, strangers becoming family in the presence of something far greater than themselves. But there were others, souls whose faces were troubled, who hesitated at the edge of the light. Some clung to regrets, to grudges, to lies whispered and believed. They looked back, searching for answers, for someone to blame or a reason to hope. The light reached out to them, pleading silently, but something inside held them back. The farther they drifted from the radiance, the more the shadows seemed to wrap around them, gentle, yet unyielding. One man fell to his knees, sobbing, covering his face as memories flashed before him, moments of kindness ignored, love rejected, opportunities lost. A young woman tried to run toward the light, but fear gripped her ankles, her eyes wide with longing and confusion. I wanted to reach out, to help them cross, but I understood. This was a choice that could only be made from the deepest part of the soul. Through it all, the trumpet's call lingered, softer now, like a heartbeat beneath the silence. It was a call to truth, to surrender, to step out of the shadow and into the embrace of grace. As I watched, tears filled my eyes. The magnitude of what I was seeing, so much hope, so much heartbreak, pressed on me with a weight both terrible and beautiful. I found myself praying, not with words, but with every fiber of my being, for those still standing at the threshold. I wished, with all my heart, that everyone could step into the light, could feel that love and belonging. If you were standing there, if you had to choose between holding on to what weighs you down or stepping into the unknown light, what do you think you would do? What fears or hopes would guide your step? Share your thoughts in the comments. How do you imagine such a moment would feel? Your voice may help someone find their courage, the universal call. As the last echoes of the trumpet reverberated across the horizon, I became aware of a new energy, a tidal wave of awakening moving through the crowd. The plain shimmered, every soul touched by the lingering vibration of that sacred sound. It was as if a gentle current, invisible yet irresistible, had swept through every heart, stirring memories, dreams, and longings that lay dormant for years or even lifetimes. In that moment, I saw what words can barely capture, a universal invitation. It was not just a call to the multitudes before me, but a call echoing out to every soul on earth, to every era, every hidden corner of human experience. It was as if the very heartbeat of creation was calling out, "Awake, the time is now. Choose your truth." I saw people respond in countless ways. Some wept openly, recognizing the call for what it was, a plea from the divine to turn toward the light, to surrender old wounds, and to trust in a love that would never abandon them. Others stood motionless, locked in a battle with themselves, their eyes wide as memories and regrets surfaced in their minds. A few tried to turn away, covering their ears, desperate to muffle the call, but it pursued them gently, refusing to let go. Suddenly, I could see scenes not just on that otherworldly plane, but unfolding all over the world. A young man in New York, sitting alone in a dimly lit apartment, clutching his phone and feeling an ache in his chest that he cannot explain. A grandmother in Arizona, standing by her window at sunrise, remembering a childhood prayer she'd long forgotten. A child in Kenya, gazing up at the stars and feeling a sense of awe and longing that brings tears to her eyes. A woman in Shanghai, waking in the night with the unshakable feeling that she is meant for more than the life she's been living. The call was everywhere, in every language, in every place, reaching through every barrier. It was gentle, but it was also urgent. It was patient, but the sense of time running out was unmistakable. I saw communities beginning to stir, people seeking forgiveness, reconciling with old enemies, strangers helping each other in ways that defied their old habits. Some responded with courage and clarity, embracing the invitation to step into a new way of living. Others struggled, torn between the comfort of old patterns and the terrifying beauty of the unknown. It became clear to me that the trumpet was not simply a warning of judgment, but also a call to mercy, transformation, and hope. It was the voice of a loving creator, longing for all to awaken, to turn from shadows and embrace the light that was always waiting. The experience was overwhelming. I felt the prayers of millions rise up like sparks in the night. Pleas for help, cries for forgiveness, whispers of gratitude. I saw angels, beings of light, moving among the crowds, comforting, encouraging, wiping away tears. And I realized, the choice before us is not just about life after death. It is about how we respond, right now, to the call that echoes in our hearts. Will we awaken? Will we change? Will we answer the call? Even if it means letting go of everything we once believed? If you've ever felt a moment when life seemed to call you higher, when you sensed you were being invited to start over, to forgive, to love, to become something more, I want to hear about it. Write about it in the comments below. What was your universal call? What did you do with it? Your story may be the light someone else needs today. The encounter with Jesus. The light around me grew warmer, more intense, so brilliant that I could hardly breathe. Yet not for a moment did I feel afraid. Instead, a peace deeper than the ocean settled over me, wrapping around my soul like a blanket on a cold night. Time seemed to stand still. All the distant sounds, the echo of the trumpet, the hush of the crowd, the murmur of prayers, faded into a single perfect silence. And then, from within the heart of that radiant glow, he appeared. I didn't need anyone to tell me who he was. There was a presence about him, a gentleness, a strength, a love so fierce and unconditional that every part of me ached with longing and relief. He was clothed in a robe of living light, more dazzling than any fabric on earth, and his eyes were like windows into eternity, impossibly kind, infinitely wise, shimmering with tears of both sorrow and joy. He walked toward me, each step as effortless as a thought. My breath caught in my throat. Memories and questions tumbled inside me. All my doubts, my failures, the pain I had seen in others, the pain I had caused. But when he looked at me, all those burdens seemed to fall away. He saw me, truly saw me, not just the things I'd done, but the secret places of my heart, the parts I hid from everyone, even myself. Without speaking, he reached out and touched my shoulder. Instantly, a flood of warmth and light poured through me, washing away every trace of shame, every shadow of fear. He smiled, a smile that held the weight of galaxies and the gentleness of a mother's touch. "My beloved daughter," he said, his voice like music and thunder at once. "I know your pain. I know your hopes. I have walked every road with you, even the ones you thought you walked alone." Tears sprang to my eyes. I wanted to fall at his feet, to thank him, to ask forgiveness for every moment I had doubted his love. But he simply knelt beside me, meeting me eye to eye, as if there was nowhere else in all the universe he would rather be. "You are not alone," he continued. "No one is. My love calls to all, no matter how far they have wandered. I came not to judge, but to heal, to restore, to guide you home." I felt every word sink deep into my being, dissolving old wounds I'd carried since childhood. My memories unspooled before me, not just the triumphs, but the moments I wished I could erase, the harsh words, the silent disappointments, the nights I lay awake wondering if my life mattered at all. And each time, he showed me how he had been there, in the quiet, in the darkness, gently whispering hope, offering forgiveness. He placed his hand over my heart. "You heard the call, Emily," he said softly. "And now, I have something for you to do. The world is standing at the edge of a great decision. Darkness and light are both at work, but the time of choosing has come. You have seen the truth, and your voice is needed. Return and tell them. Judgment is not the end, but the beginning of something beautiful for those who choose the light." I wanted to stay. The love I felt in his presence was more real than anything I'd known on earth. but his words filled me with purpose, with an urgency that burned like fire. I realized then that what I had been given was not just for me, it was for everyone. Before he let me go, he looked into my eyes one last time. "Remember," he said, "no one is beyond redemption. My grace is greater than any darkness. Go and be the light you have seen." And just like that, he was gone, leaving only the echo of his promise and the shimmering imprint of love on my soul. Have you ever imagined what it would be like to meet Jesus face to face? Have you ever felt his presence in your life, maybe in a moment of crisis, or in the quiet peace that comes out of nowhere? Share your thoughts or your story in the comments below. What would you ask him? What would you say? Your words could offer hope to someone searching for meaning right now. The mission revealed. Even as the radiance of his presence faded, I remained wrapped in a sense of holy purpose. A fire kindled within me that would never again be extinguished. Time and space seemed to dissolve. For a moment, I was nowhere and everywhere, surrounded by a river of light that flowed with the stories of countless souls. I felt the pulse of history, the heartbeat of creation, and the gentle but unyielding pressure of destiny settling on my shoulders. In that sacred hush, echoes of Jesus' words lingered. "Go and be the light you have seen. The world is standing at the edge of a great decision. Your voice is needed." Suddenly, visions began to flash before my eyes, swift and vivid, like scenes from a prophetic dream. I saw city skylines trembling, nations holding their breath as invisible waves swept through them. I saw families gathering in candlelit rooms, praying with a desperation and sincerity that broke my heart. I saw churches, schools, even corporate offices transformed into places of refuge and awakening, where people fell to their knees not out of fear, but out of awe. But there was also chaos. I saw false prophets rising, their words twisting truth into comfortable lies. I saw communities torn apart by mistrust and anger, the shadows thickening wherever hope was abandoned. Yet, in the midst of darkness, pockets of light appeared, people standing strong, loving without conditions, risking everything to speak the truth. Again, I heard Jesus' voice, not outside me, but deep within my soul. "You must tell them, Emily. You have seen the dividing of the multitudes, the calling of the trumpet, the longing in every heart. But now you must warn them. The time for choosing is now. Each soul has the power to step into the light, but the window is closing. Many are asleep, lulled by comfort and lies. Your story is not just your own. It is a call to awaken, to act, to love." I felt overwhelmed, awestruck, and, if I'm honest, a little afraid. Who was I to carry such a message? I was just a nurse from Austin, a woman who had doubted her own worth so many times. But in that moment, I realized the truth. The power was not in me, but in the one who sent me. A sense of urgency rushed through me, almost electric. I knew my time in that realm was ending. The light around me shimmered, as if the entire universe was holding its breath, waiting for my answer. I nodded, tears streaming down my face. "Yes, I'll go. I'll speak. I'll share whatever you've shown me, even if my voice trembles." And just as suddenly as it had come, the vision began to fade, replaced by a sensation of falling, spinning, rushing backward through layers of reality. But the fire in my soul burned brighter than ever. I knew, beyond all doubt, what I had to do. Have you ever felt called to something bigger than yourself? Do you have a sense of mission or purpose that you can't ignore, even if it scares you? Please share it in the comments below. You might inspire someone who's still searching for their own calling. The return to life. The world of light receded, slipping away like a dream at sunrise, but the sense of mission, of holy urgency, pressed harder on my heart than ever before. Suddenly, I felt as if I was being pulled, gently but irresistibly backward, away from that realm of radiance and peace. The landscape blurred, the warmth faded. A rushing sensation filled my senses, as if I were falling through layers of memory, emotion, and possibility, collapsing back into the smallness of a single human life. And then, pain. A cold shock jolted through me. There were voices, urgent, desperate, calling my name, hands pressing my chest, bright lights stinging my eyes. For a moment, I hovered between worlds, one foot still in eternity, the other thrust violently back into flesh and bone. Someone shouted, "She's back!" I heard sobs, felt the rush of movement, the weight of a hand squeezing mine. My eyelids fluttered, and the first thing I saw was the ceiling of the ER, those familiar tiles blurring into focus above me. My body ached. as if I'd run a marathon underwater. My mind reeled with images, trumpets, light, faces both joyful and lost. I tried to speak, but all that came out was a gasp. Tears rolled down my cheeks. I was alive, so undeniably, impossibly alive. The doctors, nurses, my colleagues, my friends, looked down at me, their eyes wide with wonder and relief. I recognized one of them, a close friend, whose face was streaked with tears and disbelief. It wasn't just my body that had come back. It was as if the world itself had changed. Every sound was sharper. Every color was brighter. The ordinary became charged with hidden meaning, as if I were seeing through new eyes. For days, I drifted between waking and dreaming, unable to shake the memory of what I'd seen. The doctors said I was lucky to be alive, that people don't usually come back after so long. My family visited, their hugs tighter, their prayers more fervent than I'd ever known. At night, I'd lie awake, replaying every detail. Jesus' voice, the separating of souls, the great trumpet's call. It wasn't a memory. It was a command. I knew I couldn't keep it to myself. But how could I explain something so vast, so real, to people who hadn't seen what I'd seen? Would anyone believe me? Would they think I'd lost my mind? Still, the urgency didn't fade. It grew stronger. I felt watched over, guided as if invisible hands were steering my steps. Sometimes in quiet moments, I felt his presence. Soft, reassuring, the same love I'd known in that world of light. I started talking, first to my family, then to friends, then to anyone who would listen. I found myself driven to write, to speak, to share, even as my voice trembled. Some people wept, some shook their heads in disbelief, but almost everyone said the same thing. I feel like I'm waking up, like something is stirring inside me. Looking back, I know I was sent back for this purpose, to remind others that life is more than survival, more than routine, more than fear or regret. We are here for a reason. We are loved, we are seen, and we are called to something greater than we can possibly imagine. If you were given a second chance, if you came back from the edge, what would you do differently? Have you ever experienced a moment that changed your purpose, your direction, your whole life? Please share your story in the comments. You never know who needs to hear it. If you are hearing my voice, know that this message is not just for strangers on the other side of a screen. It is for you, personally, wherever you are, whatever your story has been. My journey to the other side, the sound of the trumpet, the encounter with Jesus, and my return to this life. They were not just miracles for my own comfort or curiosity. They were a wake-up call for us all. The truth is, each of us stands every day at the edge of eternity. We are always just a breath, a heartbeat, away from stepping into a reality beyond anything we can imagine. But the true miracle is that we have a choice, right here, right now, to listen for the call, to let go of bitterness and regret, to choose light over shadow, truth over lies, forgiveness over resentment. The world is trembling. Maybe you can feel it. We live in a time of shaking, of division, of voices calling us in every direction. But through it all, the trumpet still sounds. An invitation, a warning, and a promise. If you have felt that stirring in your soul, don't ignore it. If you have wondered whether your life matters, whether you are seen, whether you are loved, the answer is yes. If you have doubted, if you have wandered, if you have run from the light, know this: it is never too late. No darkness is too deep for grace to reach. No mistake is too great for love to redeem. My mission is now yours as well. Awaken, forgive, love. Step boldly into the light and invite others to come with you. You are needed. You are called. You are precious beyond measure. Before I finish, I ask you, don't let this story stop with you. If anything in this journey has moved your heart, share it. Comment below with what this message means to you, or how you want to respond. Tell someone you love them today. Reach out to someone you've lost touch with. Be the reason someone else chooses hope. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to this channel. Not because numbers matter, but because together, we can spread this light further than any of us could alone. Share this video. Let the trumpet sound in as many hearts as possible. Together, we can become a wave of awakening, a chorus of hope, a family united by grace. The harvest is near, and the time is short. May we all be found ready. If this message touched your heart, please share it so that more people may be blessed. And remember, no matter how dark the world becomes, the light always wins in the end. If you made it to this moment, thank you. You are part of a story much bigger than anything I could ever tell alone. This journey through life, death, and back again is not just mine. It is an invitation for all of us to wake up, to remember what matters, and to embrace the light while there is still time. No matter your past, no matter your doubts, no matter how many times you have fallen, know this: you are loved, you are seen, and you are called for a reason. Let the sound of the trumpet echo in your heart as a reminder. Every day is a new chance to choose truth, to forgive, to love, and to bring hope to a world longing for meaning. If this message touched your heart, please share it so more people may be blessed. And don't forget to subscribe, because together, we can become a movement of light, courage, and faith. May the peace I felt on the other side find you now, wherever you are. May you be bold in your choices, gentle in your words, and radiant in your faith. The harvest is near, and the time is now. God bless you.